Welcome to the Bradley University Student Center. I'm Tom Richmond, and with me today is Dave Pardick. Together, we're going to have a series of conversations about the process of figuring out how to afford college, from the price to the steps in the process, and really some, I think, the underlying ideas that help, no matter whether you're looking at just Bradley or a lot of other colleges. So we've got to come up with a series title. We got to call this something. We should have probably thought of that before they hit record.
Ben and Jerry's?
I like it, especially we're starting this first episode in the summer. Let's get some Ben and Jerry's. We can get it from the pod right behind us. That's right here in the Student Center.
Yeah,
I'd go maybe though with the Tom and Dave show.
I would go with the Dave and Tom show.
Okay, neither one of these is, we're not going to agree. So I guess the first conversation should be kind of where I think a lot of people are starting. They're looking at colleges, they're worried about the cost because costs have gotten a lot more over the last 20 years. And people are saying, I've got more than one kid, I got to figure this out. Students are saying, how do I ask my parents for an amount I can't even imagine? So we want to talk a little bit about the price of college.
Yeah, well, no doubt about it. Certainly the one constant has been over the 40 years or so that I've been involved, nearly 30 for you, is that the college education scene, the whole search process, that finding the right college has continued to evolve and to change. And that's a very healthy thing for families and for students as they seek different things from their educational experiences. The one constant, I would say, and I think you will agree with this, is that if there is a presenting question from families and students as they begin the process, it has always been, maybe it's even a series of questions all related. Things like, I don't know how we can pay for college. I don't know that we've planned adequately. I don't know, from a parent perspective, can I afford the right college or university experience from our students? That is clearly the overriding question that families begin with. And I'm going to argue, Tom, for a second, that maybe that's the wrong question to begin with for families.
I feel like you're on a good path here. I remember I'm that person that came to Bradley as a high school student. Nobody in my family had done this before. And I met you, and that was my first point. I know I want an experience like this.
Yeah.
But I can't comprehend the price, and where do I start? I came to you for that help.
Yeah, and let me suggest that what you were asking when you and I first met 25 plus years ago was a little different than what you really were intending to discover. You came into my office and you sat down and you said, how much does Bradley charge? In essence, what's Bradley's price? How much do you charge for tuition? How much do you charge for room and board? That was the price of Bradley. What I shared with you was something slightly different. I said, well, Tom, because you qualify for a scholarship, because you'll get some support from the federal government in the state of Illinois, I gave you the cost, which was the price minus the financial assistance. That didn't make you unique because the vast majority of Bradley students, 90+%, will receive some form of financial assistance that changes the price to a cost that is much lower and is much more manageable. Now, having defined cost versus price, let me suggest what you really were seeking when you and I visited, and what families are really asking when they talk with us. What they're really looking for help with is a value assessment. Okay, I understand what the cost is going to be to me, but what is the value of a Bradley experience versus fill in the blank as they compare different colleges and universities?
Well, whatever you said that day worked. I became a Bradley student, and this year my son just finished his freshman year, so something stuck. And I became an admissions counselor for Bradley, and I still remember trying to explain this to people, and I repeated a lot of things I learned from you, and we'll be sharing in these conversations. And I think it was best summarized in the first article I read in U.S. News and World Report, and it said, it really doesn't matter how good a school is if it isn't affordable.
Yeah.
It also doesn't matter how affordable a school is if it isn't very good. And so trying to determine what makes a university good or makes it a good value, I think is where we want to go in the next conversation.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot to that. So I think that's where we'll pick up next time in our next part of the series, talking about the value and how you can compare universities, and ultimately, what's the expectations you have, and can a specific university fulfill it?
Yep, absolutely. understanding, creating a value assessment.
I like it. So come back and learn more with us. We're going to go through a series of conversations. We'll do it right here in the Student Center, and hopefully people will come along and learn about the process like we've done.
Yeah, that's right. We need a little theme music, don't we? Well, I think I'll figure that out.
Welcome to Bradley University's Michael Student Center. My name's Tom Richmond, and with me today is a beeping sound in the background.
Thank you.